Hi, I'm Alan Casavant. I'm running for mayor of the city of Biddeford. One of the themes of my campaign is openness and the idea that I need your input to create a better Biddeford. On my webpage, www.CasavantForMayor.com, there's a link that allows you to write to me asking questions or making points, and I encourage you to keep doing that. Today what I want to do is answer a few of those questions. And again, one of the things that I like about this whole idea is that your input's so critical to me. It's going to help me adjust my thinking and help me to learn, because my goal ultimately is to be the best mayor that I can possibly be. The first question has to do with the school department. And it says that the school department, its budget can get out of hand. And it wants to know, the question wants to know, what can happen with me being a former school teacher? Can I manage that type of budget? Absolutely. Even though I've been a school teacher for 35 years, and I'm very pro-education, I'm very proud of being pro-education, I'm very independent also. While I was on the education committee of the Maine legislature, one of the things that struck me was that I was never endorsed by the Maine Teachers Union. They did not view me as a rubber stamp for programs that were designed to boost the cost of education as well as them directly. I prefer to think of myself as a fiscal conservative in certain areas. Pragmatic, I guess you could probably say. And that was a good example. I recognize that the existing tax system, especially for those on fixed incomes, it doesn't work, especially with the rising costs of education. So something has to be done. When I vote, or when I voted on educational issues, I had to balance the needs of education with the needs of people's ability to pay. The idea of property taxes in education is a very good question. And that leads to something more general in our second question, which is, it seems that at a certain age, say 70 or 75, that citizens could be exempted from the school tax. This past legislative session, I put in a bill that would do exactly that. The bill was based on income, and it would allow people over the age of 70 to not pay their property taxes for schools. Now, the problem with that, of course, you probably recognize, is that if someone's not going to pay, if someone's going to be exempt, somebody else has to pick up that particular amount of money. It's just the way it works. You lose at one end, somebody else has to pay on the other end. So the big issue was how to get around that. And what I did was I linked the bill to the circuit breaker. And the circuit breaker is a program that gives you rebates on your property taxes. And so my intent was that those over the age of 75 would not pay their property taxes for schools, and communities, in order to offset that loss, would get money based through the circuit breaker. People on the taxation committee, they loved the bill, but they didn't vote for it. And the reason why they didn't vote for it is because Maine needs more than just a small little fix on certain parts of the tax code. It needs a complete fix. And they told me that they were going to do that. I believe they intend to, but I can assure you, my intention is to resubmit the bill and to keep pounding away at somehow getting some sort of break for those of you on fixed incomes and who are at the age of 70 or 75. We just finished talking about people who are 70 or 75, so I think it's important to look at people who are at the other end of the spectrum, kids. Being a teacher for 35 years, I've had a lot of issues with kids, and the question that a member of the community asked was about at-risk kids. What would I do to help them? You know, being a teacher, I've seen everything. I've seen kids from dysfunctional homes. I've seen kids who are victims of violence. I've seen poverty. I've seen kids living in cars. So it's clear to me that there are kids out there that need our help. The problem is, of course, is that fiscally, in this economic time period, it's difficult to put in new programs. So what can we do with existing programs? Good example is Community Bicycle Center. The city gives them space and heat, and they furnish grants, donations to fund a program where kids who are at risk go there, fix bikes, build bikes, go on riding tours, and in doing so, learn about themselves and about the world around them. They learn about self-esteem. They get confidence. They feel good to be there. It's like their second home, and you can see the energy as soon as you walk into the building that those kids are finding something important that they need for development. My idea is to use vehicles like that, programs like that that exist, and somehow pull them together, get them all on the same page so that we can get better productivity. Now, Mayor Dion, a number of years ago, used a grant to secure a VISTA volunteer to coordinate the youth programs in the city of Biddeford. What a great idea. We need to do that. The school department and all these different organizations need to be on the same page. Why? Because if we don't save those kids now, it's going to cost thousands down the road. It's a very fiscally responsive thing to do, to engage those kids. Give them what they need. And I can promise you that if we do, we as a community inevitably benefit. The last question deals with our infrastructure, water and sewerage. That's a real important issue because it's going to be so costly. For the last 10 years or so, maybe 20 years, the city has been working to try to catch up, so to speak, in terms of fixing our water systems. The problem is that we still got an awful lot to do, and we still are going to end up spending an awful lot of money. One of the problems of past generations of politicians is that things that were invisible to the taxpayer, things that were underground, were often postponed. Instead, things that were visible, like the paving of roads, were always done and maintained, but for the sake of keeping the tax rate low, other things were postponed. A sewer treatment plant, for example, that was constructed back in 1990 or so, that cost approximately $34 million. It could have been done cheaper much earlier. So what does that mean for us today? Well, if you've driven around town, things are still going on. We're still repairing and reconstructing. But you have to understand there are still systems in the city of Biddeford that are over 100 years old that should have been done years ago. One could argue there should have been bond this year to help for some of those projects. But instead, the prognosis has always been, let's postpone it until next year. As your mayor, my pledge is to be open. My pledge is to tell you what needs to be done and to tell you what the costs are going to be. Delaying doesn't satisfy anything or anyone. Oh, maybe there are some short-term benefits, but later on, you know, just as if you fix your car or wait to paint your house, that it's going to cost you more down the road, and we're facing that right now. So yes, I know that we have water issues, and I know that we still have sewerage issues, but I also believe that it's going to be a huge decision on our part to come to grips with it. But I can promise you this, I will tell you and keep you informed as your mayor. Well, that's it for now. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all the different questions that were addressed to my website, CasavantForMayor.com. Please continue to do so. I want to hear from all of you. I want your questions as well as your comments, because as part of my campaign, as part of what my administration would be, it's about input, it's about you, it's about what's best for the city of Biddeford. And let's face it, I can't do it alone. I don't have all the answers, but I think together we can do something special for our community. Thanks again. Please visit my webpage.